Hoo boy, okay, let me tell you guys this before we even begin this show. I'm in way over my head. I know this. This is not my area of expertise. It's not even close. And I did a whole bunch of research. I read a bunch of blogs, read a bunch of trade journals, read a bunch of other things, and it all ended up sounding like, Chicken, chicken, chicken. Chicken, chicken, chicken. Yeah, so instead we're going to go with what's a lot safer for me. I'm going to go with things that I've seen, things I've experienced. And it's going to be a lot more interesting than just regurgitating somebody else's information. I'll start about where I left off last episode. One of the common responses to that video boiled down to the idea of, well, if companies can't force us to be a community, how do we build one? My answer is that we don't. And this might sound a bit out there, but hear me out. When I was doing research for this video in particular, most of the information about community building was talking in a way that made me feel dirty. I guess I should kind of explain myself. You see, this is the reason that I get genuinely angry when I hear game designers or game studios talking about building a community. Because I understand they're not doing this out of a sense of altruism. They're doing this because they need us to be a community. They can't survive unless they make us a community. To get what I mean, we need to actually define community, and that's something that apparently is more liquid than the Pacific Ocean. A community is not just a group of people in a specific place. A community infers an emotional tie as well. Why else would I own this if I don't live in Chicago anymore? Human beings are social animals. We're hardwired to work pretty well in small groups. But culturally speaking, we want to be the guy. We want to be able to be that hero, but inherently, we know that being in a group means that our chances of success grows exponentially. Your strengths covers my weaknesses, and vice versa. But when we group up, we start forming social bonds because we become somewhat dependent on each other. We specialize in what we do well, and we rely on someone else's specialization to cover what we don't know or can't do. Let me introduce you to this man. His name is Matt Ridley.
But who knows how to make a computer mouse? Nobody. Literally nobody. There is nobody on the planet who knows how to make a computer mouse. I mean this quite seriously. The president of the computer mouse company doesn't know. He just knows how to run a company. The person on the assembly line doesn't know because he doesn't know how to drill an oil well to get oil out to make plastic, and so on. We all know little bits, but none of us knows the whole.
Go watch his whole speech. It is absolutely mind-blowing. On a very tangible scale, we develop emotional ties because of this interreliance. I mean, just think about how upset you'd be if your local coffee house shut down, or in an MMO sense, if your guild's tank can't make it to the raid tonight because he's got real-world things to do. People are reluctant to change or leave their social networks and find different ones. Game companies are not stupid, they know this, so they need to create those emotional bonds in order to keep us hanging around their game. Okay, let's face this. Most games have endings. You play through, you finish, you bring the game back to GameStop and sell it for a couple bucks. But MMOs need you to stay. They need people to keep on bringing in $15 a month regularly, and short of inventing fresh content monthly, it seems the best way to do this in their minds is to do what they call community building. And when you look at it, they've literally taken this to heart, with many games including player housing and encouraging people to build a home in their world. Referential joke that only 3 people are going to get, but alright, let's take care of my Canadian content for the show. But here's where things get a little bit more interesting, because once you invite us to create in your world becomes ours. Let me backtrack slightly to tie this into the last video here. The concept from the original article basically stated that MMO games should be so difficult that people have to group up, and this would create the community. The main reason this bothered me so much is that a group is not a community. A group of people will find themselves in an adverse situation and say, well, here we are, let's make the best of this. A community will say, well, here we are, how do we make this even more awesome? So with that in mind, when a game company invites us into their world and asks us to modify it, even slightly, we will do so. And the moment that we do that, your world becomes ours. EVE Online found this out the hard way when its own player base all but declared open warfare on CCP over their microtransaction disasters.
The Russians are getting into it. Expect node crash.
And this is why it makes my blood boil anytime I hear these gaming companies talking about, oh, we're building a community, because I understand, we're disposable to them. They look at the gaming community in much the same way that you look at a hamburger wrapper. Oh, it's great, it gives you the thing that you want, but once you're done with it, just chuck it over your shoulder and just forget it ever existed. Case in point, City of Heroes. The City of Heroes had a very thriving, lively community, and as of now, they are still debating why the game was killed off. They're angry at NCSoft, but not at Paragon Studios. But it's kind of interesting to me that the community is not dead. Now, they did a lot to make the game their own, including they made a streaming radio station called The Cape. So when the game shut down, the radio station, among other things, kept going. I mean, they're now broadcasting to the City of Heroes community people who've been displaced to Champions Online, and interestingly enough, the Secret World. There's a lot of forums dedicated for the old Heroes players who move to new places so they can reconnect and re-find each other. But I kind of want to focus on the radio station, because I find that the most interesting. This is what I mean by making it a little more awesome, because the people that DJ here, they could easily just play it on their own computer. They probably would do that anyway. But instead, they're willing to dedicate the time and the effort in order to share it with the community. And this is just what people do for communities. And it's not out of a sense of selfishness, although getting paid would be kind of nice. No, they do it because they want to make the community just that much stronger. They want to make it that much cooler. This is going to sound like a tangent, but this is related. One night I was live streaming DCUO, doing raids as a healer, and as happens in raids, the group reached the final end boss, wiped, and fell to pieces so fast I was picking shrapnel out of my exoskeleton. And as I was talking to the viewers, one of them mentioned something along the lines of, "Oh, I see what you need. Hang on, let me get in world." Now, to be honest, what he brought to the fight was staggering. Not only did he have the gear to completely dominate the role, but he had the experience to back it up. It was a long fight, but we nailed it on the first try. Afterwards, he typed in open chat, "Now I remember why I used to like this game." Apparently he hadn't played in months, and this is his first time back in the world and fighting one of the major end bosses. But from him, I never really got an air of superiority or a sense of pity. It was more like, well, a matter of community. He found my live stream out of interest for the game, watched our group, saw we could use some help, and jumped in with no expectations of payment or compensation. It was a matter of, how do I make this game a little more awesome for these guys who are trying with all they got? Well, he jumped in and helped. This is what communities do, and it's what we'll do if we're left to our own devices. This brings me back to the beginning. How do we build communities? We don't. They just happen. If people like something, and I mean genuinely like it, they'll be willing to do more for it. In the case of online games, people will make virtual radio stations, they'll broadcast the games to show how it works in-world, they'll create fan art, they'll help build your world, they'll get involved with social media, they'll invite their friends, all of which hinges on creating something that they will like and not using just cheap ploys to draw us in. I realize this is a small show, and the people that need to see it probably never will. But on the off chance, let's say you're a game designer, you're a game studio, and you want to build a stronger community. Here's my advice from way down here. Start with a solid foundation. Build a good game. Build something that people are going to enjoy. And a community will just form around you. Because that's just what we do. And if you're a player and there's a game that you like, support the game. And I'm not just talking with your wallet. Because these are the kinds of things that build stronger communities. You don't build stronger communities by building stronger monsters. Just saying.
To show you guys something. That's where we go snowboarding in Wisconsin. And if you're looking at that and going, where the heck is the hill? Now you understand why Wisconsin riders are more hardcore than you.